I'm Megan Mitchell. This is my co-host, John Morrison, and you are listening to the True North Racing Podcast.
Time to strap in, pull those belts, and get ready for an action-packed episode of the True North Racing Podcast. Are you ready to unhelmet your favorite racers? Get ready for the most fun you'll have outside the racetrack to get you ready for the next race. You're listening to John Morrison and Megan Mitchell, and this is the True North Racing Podcast.
Welcome back to a new week of the True North Racing Podcast, presented by Driving with Hailey. That's right, guys. We are now being presented by, we got a new presenting sponsor. We got to thank Driving with Hailey for joining Joe Media Promotions as a new partner for ours. We're excited to partner with it. We got so many great things that we're going to be working on or with. You guys are going to see that in just a couple of minutes here. We got one of the coolest things we're going to be working with her about there, Megan, is we're going to have the Driving with Hailey vehicle spotlight. So each week she is going to send me a vehicle that's on her lot that we are going to highlight, and hopefully we can get it sold within the week. And this week's one is perfect for the type of people that listen to this show. Do you know why?
I mean, you said pickup truck, so
it is a pickup truck. It's a Ram 2500.
Okay.
So we're going to talk about that in just a little bit here. But we got Megan Mitchell back. Megan, how are you?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing very well. How have you been since we've last chatted?
Busy but good. How about you?
I've been pretty good. How was your weekend? I know how you're feeling right now, but how was your weekend?
It was good.
Yeah.
We had Jacqueline's bachelorette party, so just hung out at your house. Played some games, had some drinks, had some snacks. So it was good.
Nice. Nothing wrong with that. I was able to, I went out to my aunt's house yesterday because, of course, you guys were here at the house. So I had to vacate with my two boys. So we went to my aunt's house out in Kitchener for the night, and we had some fun hanging out with her. I got some new pictures, actually, that I've never seen or have had in my possession before. So I'm very thankful that I've been able to get a few of those. And some of those include like my mom's graduation from Mohawk College in Hamilton.
Aww. Yeah.
A couple high school photos. There's a photo of her from 1973.
Ooh.
With their dog Lassie beside her while going down the stairs. Yeah, I got some nice pictures. And I got an original copy of my grandparents' wedding pictures.
Nice.
So and I got some more copies coming because unfortunately this past week I lost my grandmother. She passed. Yeah. You want okay, we're gonna get into that in just a minute here, but yeah, on Wednesday my grandma passed away. She was 95, if I remember correctly. So nice long life, very well lived. I'm definitely gonna miss her a lot. She was a big part of my life growing up. When I got my tonsils out, she took care of me for the week. The week before Labor Day weekend, we'd always spend there before we go to the Paris. Well, once we got old enough, we were working at the Paris Fair with my grandfather. But we'd always go to her house the week before. So she's definitely going to be missed. But I know she's at peace now and she's back with my grandpa. So that's obviously the sad part, but she's passed on. So I'm dealing with that this week. I got the funeral 4 days before the wedding.
Oh God.
Yeah, the Tuesday. Yeah, so it's gonna be an emotional week. And and my aunt asked me if I would be willing to make some chocolate macaroons for her. So like for the funeral.
Yeah.
I'm going to take a few chocolate macaroons down with me. And of course I got to make like a double batch for everyone. So anyone who wants them, I can put a baggie together and give them out to everyone at the funeral. But yeah, we're going to touch on that Facebook thing here real quick. Have you been able to see some of my posts?
Like on your personal or on Joe?
Yeah, I'm on my personal.
Now that I think about it, I don't think I've seen anything. Like I've seen Jomo Media stuff.
Okay, so this is where I think I don't know what the is going on because when I was over there, um, oh no, oh I gotta find that out later. Um, sorry, I just opened Facebook to go take a look at, it, and there's maybe some drama going on, but I'm not too sure, and I'm not going to speak on it. But yeah, like anything racing related, someone comments or likes it. And I go down to my grandma's obituary that I shared on Thursday, sorry,
Because I never saw that.
nothing. The same thing happened with my uncle earlier this year. There was nothing. So like I'm like that's weird.
Hmm. Oh
But
my
yeah,
God.
sorry.
Okay, now I feel bad because I would have messaged you. I did not see that. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
it's okay.
now that I look at like on your actual page, I can see it.
Yeah.
But it like on my newsfeed or anything like that.
Which is so weird because we were talking about that last night because my aunt was like, I see everything of yours on Instagram, but Facebook, I never see anything of yours. So I'm like, I don't know what the hell's going on.
Hmm.
So, but yeah, so I've been I've been dealing with that, both those issues. Well, been dealing with the loss of my grandma for the week and since Wednesday, and
Mm-hmm.
um now I've been dealing with the fact that apparently maybe people don't see my personal Facebook page. So if you do see my post, let me know down below, like or something, or message me and just say, hey, I don't see your post or I see your post. I don't know. As you guys can tell, I'm still getting over my cold I had last week, but we're this week on the show though, we got Don Yorke coming in. We're going to be talking about the bone stocks down at Delaware Speedway, how they came about, and how they kind of moved from the enduros that they were running down there to the weekly division that we know and love that have 50 plus cars show up.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be a lot of fun. But before we do any of that stuff, we are going to get into our first Driving with Hailey vehicle spotlight. So each week now, because we got we got Hailey Hill being the presenting sponsor for the podcast, we are going to be working on this is something that we're going to work on with her, where each week we're going to promote one of her cars that she has on her lot at right in Hamilton. And hopefully we can see we're going to try to work and see if someone who's looking for a ride can go get themselves into a nice new used car. So I bought my van from her, my minivan from her. It has been great. Couple like issues, but like that's wear and tear on a van, on a
Yeah.
vehicle. So that's nothing against them. But honestly, it's been one of the best vehicles I've had. It's nice and easy, great on gas. And it's perfect for the family. Like that's the main part. It's perfect for the family. And with drone medium promotions growing like it has been, it's hell, I may need to talk to her about getting into this pickup truck, but
Yeah.
uh, so this 2022 Ram 2500 has 65,000 kilometers on it, is going for $51,995. It is a Bighorn edition. It's got let's see, what do we got here? We got wow, just trying to look through here. It's got a front yeah. Man, I just went through the wrong one here. So some of the vehicle, it's got Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, Bluetooth, rear view camera, keyless ignition, and it's also got a tow hitch. Um, yeah, it's got safety, a bunch of safety stuff. This is stuff we're gonna have to work on. I didn't even look at this, so I should really take a little better look at this before we start doing this. But honestly, it's got the trailer wiring harness, front rear anti-roll bars, block heater. It's a clean looking truck. You guys, I'm gonna throw up you pictures. I'm gonna throw pictures up here on the site as we're talking about this. And tires look pretty good on it. I can't complain about that. Interior is nice. See what kind of it's got like a gray interior.
Nice.
Pretty clean looking truck. I'll give it that. But yeah, that's definitely something I wish I could get my Because then I'd be one step closer going back to get into a race car.
Mhm.
If I had a vehicle to tow.
Exactly.
But no, it looks like a great vehicle. I want to see if it's got is it bench? It's a bench seat across the middle.
Ooh.
Oh, I think is that a bench seat? No, that's not a bench seat. Damn it. That's where they unsold me, unfortunately. I like a bench seat in the pickup truck. Give me a 6-seater pickup truck and I'm a happy camper.
Hmm.
But if you guys are looking to get into a new used pickup truck, especially with race season coming around the corner, you might be in the market for a new truck. This 2022 Ram 2500 is right up your alley. Contact Hailey Hill today at or find her on Facebook with Driving With Hailey, as well as her phone number. Once I find it, because I'm stupid. Again, this is stuff I'm going to work out later on. We're gonna figure this out. You guys can contact her at 289-808-2828 or at hhill@rightride.ca and get yourself into that nice looking Ram 2500. Of course, I'm a Ram guy, so I mean, like, it's one of the cool things. But yeah, last week, Megan, did you check out any of our interviews last week that we talked about?
I've watched bits and pieces of some of them. I
So,
haven't got to watch all of them all the way through.
so did you hear about what I got up to at Motorama when I ended up getting into getting 3 new hats?
No.
Oh, okay. So Friday in Motorama, I ended up getting a new hat. I got the Brandon Feeney gave me one of his Feeney call hats.
Mhm.
They came in, so I obviously ordered myself one, and I was rocking that on Friday after. So my first show, I had one hat on. Second
Yeah.
show of the day, I had put on the Feeney call hat. On the Saturday, I ended up going up, went with another hat. I think I went with my True North Racing podcast hat.
Mhm.
I think I did. I don't know. You gotta check the videos for that, I guess. But I ended up getting a free hat given to me from Ollie Ferguson. He had some home hardware hats that he signed, and he was handing them out to people as they walked by. And of course, I
Nice.
took one. And then I picked up this one. This is a sleek hat, and I really love this. The podcast booth that we had was right behind Racing with Autism.
Right.
And first of all, that's an amazing story. I'm going to be in the process here of reaching out to them, to Austin and his team, to actually bring them on the show and
Sweet.
chat with them. So I'm going to make sure I wear this hat. It does say Racing with Autism on it. I think it's got Lincoln Electric on one side, and I think it's got Spark Power on the other. It is one of the nicer hats I have in my collection now. So they actually had this morning, what was it? I shared it to Facebook. That's how I remember this now too. They actually had a racing, how do they put it? It was a racing, hold on, sensory friendly karting.
Okay,
So,
I saw that.
yeah, so this morning, they actually, from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m., they actually, at the K1 Speed in Mississauga, they actually had sensory friendly karting. So I thought that was fantastic. I wish I could have gone just to check it out, but no, that was pretty cool. There's so many cool things that was going on at Motorama. I wish Megan, next year we're having a bigger presence.
Yeah.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Thursday setup, Friday day 1, day 2, day 3. We're gonna need to get you book a hotel, and you're gonna have to come out for the weekend.
That's for sure.
Now, the only problem you might come down with is you might get sick, so you might need to take off the rest of the next week as well.
Yeah.
Because that's how I felt.
Jacqueline was telling me about that.
Oh, I thought I was just run down. I was like, my voice, there's like, hey, fat boy, you're just tired. Oh, apparently not. But anyways, we can catch up more about that after the show. We are gonna be bringing in this week's graphic design studio guest of the week. We got Don Yorke joining us. So why don't we bring him into the Zoom, and we'll get going. All right, joining us this week, we got Don Yorke with us. Don, how's it going, man?
Not too bad. Nice, beautiful day to watch a bunch of racing, and well, we're joining you guys.
What better way to end a Sunday?
Well, couldn't be
I'm,
worse.
I mean, I'm sure there could be better ways.
I just sat there and watched Joe and Steckley and Butcher do Canada proud down at Five Flags, so can't really
How did they
complain about
make out?
that. So Butcher finished Butcher won
Nice.
from Nova Scotia, and then Joe finished. I think he finished 15th or 16th.
Respectable.
Joe he struggled. Well, he struggled a lot at the beginning of the race. Um, you know, I can't really speak for the team, but I know it's big deal for them to be down there, and they crashed yesterday, blowing a tire.
Yeah.
So they were up pretty late last night, getting things fixed up. And Steckley, I don't really know what happened to Steckley. Him and I can't remember who it was, but him and another guy were getting together close to the last competition caution that they had, and I don't know if ground wire broke loose or they broke a dry shaft or what, but um, he ended up plummeted towards the back, and he didn't even finish. So
Oh, geez.
you know, it's all part of the game, though.
It's racing. Things like that happen. No matter how meticulous you are over your car, some could always happen.
Well, and that's just it, right? Like I'm not. I know Joe blew a left rear tire
Yeah.
going into turn 3, and Five Flakes is no joke. Like I know we all talk about Canada. Delaware's really fast, or Chicasa,
Yeah.
or you can even go to Riverside out in Nova Scotia. They're fast tracks, but they're nothing compared to the speeds that you carry on entry at Five Flakes or New Smyrna or even Hickory.
Yeah. Yeah, which
So.
when our guys go down there, I know it's a whole new ball game for them, and there's not really much we can do to really prepare them for something like that without hitting the track.
No, and I feel bad for like Joe. Joe had a really rough speed weeks. They broke a couple of times, and then they were in the LCQ, and they broke. Don't quote me on it, but I believe they broke a transmission in the LCQ, and they were in the transfer spot. And then Steckley did amazing. Like Steckley went from having a really bad Q lap to making his way into the show, and then he drove up to 8th.
Yeah,
Like so, it's one of those deals where I think the Canadian boys were really good, but we just don't get the seat time that a lot of the Southern boys do. So when we do it, we got to make it up somehow.
exactly. Um, I know we could sit here and talk about that stuff, but that's not why we brought you on the show tonight. We're not here to talk about our Canadian constituents down in the States. We're here to talk about Don, man. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got involved in racing?
Well, I've been racing. I started in 2003, I believe it was. I would have been 16 or 17. Funny enough, it was Norm Schneckenberger. He doesn't race now, but he's part of Barry Watson's crew.
Okay.
So my father used to race back in the 70s and the 80s at Delaware, obviously. And I don't really know the whole story, aside from the fact that my dad was at the Napa store in West Lorne, and Schneckenberger recognized my dad, and they got talking about the old days. And my dad said, I got a son, he's really interested in racing, and my whole family loves racing, obviously. So one thing led to another, and I was at his shop helping him out in Eagle when the truck division was still alive at Delaware.
Yeah.
So I helped him for a season. Not so much at the track, but just at the shop in Eagle. And then I got playing hockey with Devin Blumendahl in the 01 truck. I want to say it would have been 04. And we got playing hockey, and I got associated with him through a bunch of couple other different people with some youth group stuff and whatever. So ever since then, Devin and I have been racing together. We're best friends. He was the best man at my wedding. I work for him. Devin and I have been through a ton together. But racing, the York name in racing goes a long way. So my grandfather, back when he lived in Nova Scotia, um, he raced out at there's a racetrack just outside of Moncton. He raced there, and then my father, when he moved to Ontario, he raced in at Delaware, Nilestown, Checkered Flag, Ridgetown, St. Thomas. I guess St. Thomas had a oval track at some point or another at the top of the hill. So yeah,
Now I'm
yeah,
gonna have to
racing.
research that.
Yeah, racing in the York family has it's been it's a generational thing apparently. So like I've got 3 kids myself, and all 3 of my kids love coming to the racetrack and watching racing. Now I will say this: my son loves the bone stocks, and I don't know why, but he does.
Because it's the best division at Delaware. Duh.
Well, I wouldn't say it's the best, but it's definitely the highest populated division.
Yeah.
The street stocks are probably nothing to say about not to bring down the late model guys, but that the street stocks put on really good racing every single week. And
Oh
I
yeah.
don't know if Jay Durr is going to be back this year or not, but
I know he
um,
keeps hinting at it.
well, I've worked with Jay Durr in a
Yeah.
bone stock um, a couple of times, and he's really good at what he does. And seeing him and Carson Nagy battle it out the past couple of years has been really fun.
Oh yeah.
So I'm hoping, fingers crossed, maybe Jay's listening to this. He'll come back and he'll try his hand at another championship here in 2024.
Yeah. Jay Dewar, if you're listening, man, let's get that thing back together and go for another championship run. Let's watch that. Because that was fun to watch the couple years ago there.
The past 2 years,
Yeah.
even last year. Last year, like Dura wasn't that far off of Carson last year,
No.
but it's obviously it's not so much cost, but it's you have one bad night and you're kind of out of the mix. So
Yeah. It's they as they say, it's so easy to lose points, but so hard to make up points.
yeah, so it's again like I've been going to Delaware for 20 years now, and I remember the year that Chris Lawrence won the Super Stock division at Delaware. I think that was 2010, and he just didn't have a flawless year. And him, Lidster, and Darrell Lake were battling for the championship, and Lidster and Lake both had really bad years.
Yeah.
Like they had one really bad race, and that kind of separated them from Chris, right? So
And
it's
unfortunately,
amazing.
that's all that happens, right?
Well, you see it last year in the Bone Stocks. Jay Cox led most of the season, and he had one disqualification and he had one really bad race, and it catapulted Jeremiah to the lead, and Rabideau walked away with the championship on the last night.
Yeah. Wait, and that's always it's always the craziest part about racing is watching these point battles throughout a year. Because yeah, you can see some and they're so close but in the grand scheme of things, you just have one bad race and you know it could just be some trivial too. And but you watch a lot of these tracks and some of the point battles are some of the best races in Ontario. The
Well,
point battles themselves.
and that's the fun part about Ontario, and that's what a lot of the southern guys don't see. I mean, we're starting to get a little more exposure from the states up here. They see stuff like Delaware every
Thank
Friday night.
goodness.
Rogers shows their thing every Friday, right?
Yep.
I know APC was doing their deal. I know they've gone away from G-Force on YouTube and they're going to go to Racing America, but that did a lot to help with our exposure, not just in North America but worldwide,
Oh yeah.
right? So
It's
it's
great.
and it's great. I love it for the sport. I love it for Canada. I love it for Ontario racing as a whole.
Yep.
Now, in my opinion, it's time for the bone stocks to get a little bit more of that exposure because I'm a very big bone stock advocate. So
Yes, you are. And we're like let's get into that here. you've been going to the track for 20 years, like you said. How did you get involved into a race car? Like, how did you go from
So,
helping out these crew guys, like being a crew guide, to getting behind the wheel?
funny enough, Mike Howard used to own a hot rod shop in Mount Bridges, and um, it's actually where Wayne Pilkey has his car dealership now. It used to be called Woody's, and me and Jamie Grover, we were working there doing a bunch of stuff for him, and my father had an old Dodge K car station wagon. So Delaware started off with a four-cylinder division that was called the Chaos Cars. So it was barrel racing for stock cars. Uh,
That sounds so cool.
well, yeah, it was interesting. Uh, Funny enough, Jeremiah Rabideau's brother Spencer Rabideau ran in the same division. And they would set up barrels, and you would have to do these, 3 times around the barrel, and then go to the next barrel and do a reverse or whatever. Anyway, so
Is
when they
there
brought
video
that
footage of
out,
that?
yeah, I'm pretty sure there's some on YouTube.
Because I'm
It
gonna need to
would be
find
under
that.
the Jonathan Houghton might have it, because Jonathan Houghton and Checkered Flag Media were the media rights to Delaware back then.
Yep.
So the first race I ever did was for that particular series. My father had gave me a Dodge K car station wagon. Him and I had a bit of a bet, and I won the bet, so I got the car. So uh, we put this car together at Mike Howard's shop, and it was, again, a station wagon. What better thing to call it than the Undertaker? And we filled in the side panels, and we had an upholstery shop there, so we did up nice little uh, on the back windows. We did little drapes up that were purple, and we had a blue light on the roof. And at the time, Tyson Toll and I can't remember who was racing Red Baron, but we got on Facebook, and this is early stages of Facebook and
Yeah.
YouTube and all that. So we got on Facebook and all. We were like we were all talking every day, but we were trash talking to each other, saying that I'm gonna wreck you. You're gonna be better than blah blah blah, right? That kind of stuff. So, anyway, so I went out there with I think there was, I don't know, 11 or 12 of us, and we had a good time. I ended up I got wrecked out on, I don't know, 34th lap. I'd been a subframe. Um, I can't really remember what happened, but with Spencer Rabideau, funny enough. So the next year, we did the same thing. There's, I don't know, 8 or 9 of us, and then at the end of that year, the Speedway. Well, Jonathan Houghton had approached me earlier in the year and said, "Hey, what do you feel about doing like a full course 4-cylinder deal?" And I can't remember what happened to that station wagon. I think Jake Middlebrook might have taken it. Anyway, so we put it off for a season, and then that was when the first Pumpkin Smasher happened. So I went from crewing for like Devin, and we were winning races and crewing for Mike. We were building trucks and stuff. To I got my shot at it basically because back in those days, we had what was called the Enduro Nationals, and they had the Chaos cars there, and thought, hey, let's just build a car that's going to be cheap. And it was made out of fence post and water pipe. Yeah, it was not pretty.
Jesus Christ. No, it wouldn't
So,
be.
no, so I'm pretty sure, if memory serves me right, the first Pumpkin Smasher would have been 2011.
Okay.
Yeah, it would have been 11, I think, if memory serves me right. So I had got a whole new car for that one, and it was a Dodge Stratus, and it was
Oh
my daily.
God.
It was my daily. I love the thing. I had a couple of Cirruses, Stratuses. I love the thing. It was automatic. Um, uh, but they still had cars. So at that particular year, I think that was the first year that we did the Open, the Ontario Open. and anyway, it was raining. It's just crap weather. But they had positioned cars on the track to try to keep the speeds down because which is funny enough because they were worried about the speeds back in them days. Like they'd be pooping now, but I started. I think there was 37 cars showed up, and I started 36th.
Wow.
Well, I got up to second, and then I blew a motor with about 4 laps to go.
Mm.
Of course, something like that happens.
Well, part of that was their handicapping system, though. Was anybody that was back in that day, anybody that had any prior experience racing, you got sent to the back. So because
That's smart.
Devin and I were so good in the trucks, and I was just starting to get tied in with Chris and Joe and Darren Clavin and a couple other guys that I got sent to the back just because of the knowledge that I had for racing, not necessarily because of my skill, but I could set a car up.
You know what? That's valid actually. That makes sense.
Yeah, I wasn't happy about it.
I wouldn't be either, but hey, I mean, you still got it to second. Like you still raced up there.
Well, and to be honest with you, when I blew the motor up, that was kind of my own fault. I love Derek Moosker, and he's probably one of the best race car drivers in the bone stocks, but I screwed up and I drove into the back of him trying to get around him. But that's that inexperience factor, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, it's been a long journey.
That means they've been running the Pumpkin Smasher. You said the first one was like 2011, so they've been running that for 13 years now. This will be the 13th
Yep.
edition of it.
Yep, and I've won.
Damn.
I ran all but 4 of them.
Wow.
Yeah, I think 4. Yeah.
So for anyone who doesn't know, if this somehow reaches outside of Ontario, why don't you tell us a little bit of the Pumpkin Smasher? What it is?
Oh, the Pumpkin Smasher is a blast, is what it is. So so we do lately. The past couple of years, what we do is you do 50 laps in the dry, and then we do 50 laps with pumpkins. So they sell pumpkins up in the concourse. All the proceeds go to a charity. And then people come down during the break, and they just smash these pumpkins on the entry to turn 1. And you think driving on black ice is slick. It's got nothing on pumpkins. Because you are slipping and sliding, and if you're really good at driving on slick surfaces, you're not too bad, but it gets really, really hairy when when you're 4 wide and you're stuck in the middle, and you don't really want to be in the middle because you can't, like, normally.
But you can't check up because there's someone breathing down your butt.
Well, yeah, or like last year, for instance, I didn't even realize I ran last year in one of Chris Lawrence's BT racing cars.
Yeah.
And I was running second, and I didn't even realize it. And we were lapping cars, whatever, me and Rabideau were, and I had checked up where I had been checking up the whole time. Well, I got drove into the back of by Jack Dixon.
Okay.
And he come over to me. He's like, "Dude, what were you doing? Like, why are you lifting so early?" And I'm like, "Well, you got to lift early to get through the pumpkins. Because if you don't, you're just gonna slide up and hit the wall." And it was just a caution fest. So I ended up bowing out early because the car I was in wasn't very comfortable for me. And
Yeah.
I'm a pretty lengthy. Well, I'm a big dude, right? So when my knees hitting the dash bar, it's it's hard to race.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, it's a blast.
How long is the race? It's like 150 laps, right?
Well, so the first Pumpkin Smasher we ever did was 75 laps, and then there's been a couple different variations that I can remember. There's been a 150 lapper, there's been a 100 straight laps, there's been 50 laps dry, 50 laps with, there's been 25 dry, 75 laps with. So I think they're still trying to find that balance of how to make it work really, really good.
Yeah.
I know up until this year, this year was the first year that it was a championship point race.
Yeah, for the bone stocks, right?
Yeah, yeah. So it never used to be, which I didn't really agree with because it's. I mean, I agreed with it, but I didn't.
Yeah.
Just for the fact of, well, you're going to be there anyway, so you might as well give people points, right? And if
Yeah.
you can't, it's no different than racing in the rain.
Yeah.
Like I love
I,
racing in the rain.
see, like I would love to go. Like that's actually one of like I've been to when they ran the icebreaker back in like
Mm-hmm.
2016, I think 2017 it was.
The
Is when I
breaker or the
went.
maker?
I
Because the
I
ice
think
maker is raining.
the
Because I
icebreaker
led icebreaker would have
icebreaker
been
was the
in the
spring one, right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I went to
yeah.
the one in the spring because I was prepared for cold weather because that's what it was saying on the damn weather app and everywhere I looked. We
Then you
get there
got
and it's
there and it
like
was
20
dry.
plus
Yeah.
degrees. My kids are melting in what they're wearing because I of course overdressed them because of the weather. And I'm sitting there going like, what the hell are we thinking?
So funny enough, like the ice maker that same year, um, I led this 150 lap race and I led 100 and I led about 100 laps.
Yeah.
And the way they staged everybody right for being laps down and all that stuff, well, I had qualified poorly because I knew that weather was coming in. So I put a tighter setup in the car to
Yep.
get a poor qualifying. Well, as soon as the heavens opened up, I took off. So yeah, like I say, I wrecked out with about 30 laps to go by a lap car, but I still finished 10th,
Yeah.
right? And when I wrecked out, I was 8 laps ahead of the guy in second, which ended up being Jake Sheridan ended up winning it, which he was one of my teammate cars, but
Okay.
yeah, I miss those. I miss those. I miss racing in the rain. I really, well, I mean, I don't because iRacing has it now, but
Yeah. So
so
what let's be real here. Like I want to, because I love the idea of the pumpkin smasher. I've been wanting to get down there for that one because it looks like a blast. Uh, it is just the bone stocks that race that day, correct?
yes. So in the years past, it used to be we had an open 4 cylinder division or open 4 cylinder. So it was open to any 4 cylinder that was in Ontario that had fenders, or actually not even fenders. It was just open to all of them. So we would get mini mods from South Buxton. We got a couple of
That'd be
Pro 4
so cool.
mods from Flamborough, but basically any mini stock, and there's no rules. The only rule was you had to be on a DOT tire and you had to have safety,
Yeah.
obviously, right? So I remember one of the best races I've ever seen at Delaware was Corey Young, uh, Schwarzenberg, and Dave Bailey. And they battled for 50 laps and they were cutting and weaving. And anyway, so it was one of the best races I've ever seen at Delaware in a
Yeah.
mini stock at least. So, but lately it's just yeah they do that and they believe they put on a demolition derby at the end in the
Okay.
pumpkin stuff. So I'm not can't quite remember last year because we had left before all that started, but um yeah that pumpkin smasher man it's I've been tracing it for 13 years and I've yet to. Joe was really close last year.
Yeah.
I've been close a bunch of times. Like um, the races that I do finish, I normally finish between second and third. Last year, and I've got a couple of DNFs. They really bring my finishing uh, average down.
Yeah.
So,
Unfortunately, that's it'll do that to you.
well, I mean, look at Dale Earnhardt. It took him 20 years to win the 500.
Exactly.
I hope it doesn't take me 20 years to win the Pumpkin Smasher.
Only 7 more years. I mean, not
Yeah.
bad.
Well, yeah, by then my kids will be winning it before I do.
I'm trying to look it up here. So the Pumpkin Smasher this year will be run Saturday, September 21st at 3 o'clock at Delaware Speedway. Um, so if anyone is interested to take your car out that day, like that would be definitely a race to go out to. And of course, I clicked one of my wrong drivers here to see if Flambro's running that night. But Megan, do you know if Flambro's running that night? I think they're.
Like the pure stocks in specific.
Yeah.
I we have one weekend off in September. I know that. I'm
checking your schedule right now.
I don't know if.
Oh, you got that off.
Okay, I kind of thought it was that night we were off.
So what
So
I'm
no
hearing
excuse
is
now.
so what I'm hearing is let's put a car together and go.
I'll even tell you how to get through it.
I mean,
Look
maybe
at that.
maybe if that fifth car of ours is still hanging around.
Yeah. Put that fifth car together. Let's go.
Listen, if you're not afraid to run against the wall, all you got to be is about 4 inches off that wall on the entry, and you're fine.
I'll be honest, the wall terrifies me.
Well, Delaware wall terrifies me too, because you don't know which part of it's going to jet out in front of you.
Yeah. That'd be cool to try though. That'll be on my bucket list.
Well, it's like, Autumn Colors has their big deal. Sunset with Velocity. Like, I
Yep.
know, I understand Delaware's got the Great Canadian. And last year we were lucky enough to go doubleheader.
Yep.
Which hasn't happened for a few years for the bone stocks. I mean, I remember when we used to run the doubleheader all the time. But Flambro's got Frostfest or Frosttoberfest now, I guess.
Yep.
Saubles got the
Boss of the beach.
or what used to be the Cash for Dash or whatever.
Yep. Oh, they got the dash. Yeah, the dash for cash in the middle.
Grand
at the end
Ben's
of July
got
there.
Grand Ben's got whatever they got going on over there.
Yep.
So it's fitting that Delaware's got this little bit of an oddity, and it's turned into quite the trophy to try to win. Like, well, Derek Musker's won it. I want to say 5 or 6 times now.
Oh,
And,
wow.
yeah, well, we'll get to that later, but it's one of those deals where, like, anybody that races at Delaware in a bone stock, they want to win that, right? So, and it's because it's not necessarily who's got the best car, but it's who's the better driver. And the rain used to do that for us back when we raced in the rain. Not that we're now, but the rain was a huge equalizer.
Yeah.
Like, I love Jeremiah Rabideau. I really do. Like, him and I are really good friends, but in the rain, he's not very good. But, you take a guy like Shane Gibson, who normally runs dead last, and you put him in the rain, and he's running, he's getting a top 10. So,
Yeah. Like that's it's one of those events that it's definitely a must-see event. It is one no one wants to miss. No one should be missing that. And of course, this Flambro drivers, this is a year to go. You have that night off. Take your car, run it down there. I know there's probably quite a handful of guys who are going to go run that this year. But Megan, get you guys on that. Get that fifth car done, and like,
yeah,
you got 6 months to get it done.
Yeah. I mean, that car, it's good to go anyway, but
exactly. Slap a number on it. Go have fun for a day.
I remember when building a bone stock used to take a day, and and you could run, and we did. We won races with a car that we built in a night. You can't do it now, unfortunately, but
no, it's I hate to say it, but it's kind of like turning into what the mini stocks were, 15 years ago, 15, 16 years ago there.
Yeah. And I can't really speak for Flamborough or Sunset and all that. Like, I know what the rule books are now for those, but like Delaware, we never really had a 4-cylinder division, so we really did start from scratch.
Yeah.
We were running straight up tires. We weren't like, the tire rule was whatever you could find and put it on, and junkyard tires, no new tires, and that was basically it. So, like, yeah, like we are evolving.
Yep.
unfortunately, racers are their
Their own
own
worst
worst
enemy.
enemy.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
We
Oh,
just had,
trust me, I know.
we just had that conversation with John Caselli on the weekend about the evolution of divisions and how it's hard to like pull on the reins after it's gone too far. And
Oh, and that's the
we're
problem,
just
right? Is
the
you
pit
can't do
stops
that.
there don't go that far because
Yeah, and that's so like nothing to get on the street stocks, but that's what happened with street stocks. They're basically limited late models from
Yep.
the early 2000s, and
We
I'm
talked
not.
about that with Roy Wilkie a few weeks
Yeah.
ago. He was saying the same thing about super stocks.
Yeah,
Is
and
that
that's just it, right? Like they're the only real difference between a pro late and a super stock now is the leaf spring rear end and big spring front end. Oh, and shocks too, but
yeah.
there's other stuff to it, but
But for the majority, like to what a super stock or what a street stock was 10, 15 years ago to now is night and day.
well, you see it with the hot rod division.
Yep.
The hot rod division, you can see they've got uh, they've got a wide mix of things, but a majority of them are old limited late model chassis,
Yep.
and they're running the same lap times with worse aero cars than what we're running out street stocks, right? So I mean, yeah, they got a little bit bigger tire and the shock package is a little bit different, but it's racers are their own worst enemies.
Oh yeah. They always want more and more and more, and then
Mm.
and then they complain about when the prices get too high.
Well, and that's what happened with the bone stocks at Delaware. I love the
Yeah.
bone stocks. Don't get me wrong. I've always been a big advocate.
I,
Um,
that's one of the reasons why I knew about you really was because of the bone stocks down at
yeah,
Delaware.
yeah. And I've
And
always rallied for them, and I will always push for them to be what they are. But we are our own worst enemies. We started off with 2 degrees of camber on the right front, and that was it. Well, now
Yeah.
we've graduated to safety rims on the right side, spring rubbers, which, funny enough, I was part of that too. But 55 series tires, the tread wear rule came in because of me. There's so many rules that come in because of me, but that's not the point. The point, like, there's like the camber rules started because of myself and Roy Schindel, and then when they paved Delaware, it just extenuated everything, right?
Yeah.
So like guys are blowing rims out, and which guy blowing rims out that were old crappy Cavalier rims isn't a shock because they've always been bad. We
Yeah.
were blowing them out when we first started the bone stocks. So guys took it as a chance to run safety rims because you really do gain a bit of an advantage with safety rim.
Yeah.
So, it's come a long way from when I first started. Back
Well,
in 2011.
I remember sitting up in turn 3 between 3 and 4 at Flamborough the one night, and I remember watching the bone stock races. It was probably about 2015, 2016, I want to say. Whenever it was like the rookie year of the pure stocks at Flamborough. And one of the cars flipped right in front of us, and I don't know who it was, but him and I started talking. He goes, "Yeah, I can't believe it. We just built that car last night." And it was like, "We'll go out to the junkyard tomorrow and pick up another one." I'm like, "What the
Yeah. Yeah,
like?"
it's changed a
And,
ton since then.
and now when I've been watching Megan build theirs, and it's just like, you guys can't even build that in the night anymore. With all the you guys get a cage built or a cage kit from Bicknell or whatever, and then go from there. It's just crazy how far we've really come
I'll
since
I'll say
then.
this. Chris does a really good job. I think he gets them out in about 2 days now, 2 to 3 days, as
Yeah.
long as they're already stripped before he gets them. Now the biggest thing isn't necessarily putting the cage in.
Mhm.
The biggest thing is the suspension work and the geometry that we're doing with the front
Yeah.
ends and the rear ends. Like anybody with a Honda, you got the whole rear end is all independent suspension, so you can do a ton of different things with it.
Yeah.
If you're the Cavalier guys are, they got to take the whole right rear bearing apart, put a safety hub on, and then you got to sit there and make sure you get the rear toe proper because that's part of the rules now. It never used to be, but now it is. So you got to make sure the rear toe's set, make sure you're not over cambered, you're not putting too much stress on the bearings. You're setting the front toe, you're setting the front cast. You're like, there's so much that goes into it now. Like the
Mhm.
days of just building a car or taking a car, stripping it, and throwing a cage in it, and just going and racing are they're not here anymore. And
No.
it disappoints me because that's how this series started. I will take full credit. Like I have no problem admitting that I am part of the blame when it comes to it at Delaware because I took things far beyond what they needed to be. But it's now I'm trying to help Delaware kind of get things back to where we're not as fast as we were. So, and I want to get back to the days where you could just build a car for $1,000 and you're good. But, well,
Mhm.
scrap cars aren't as cheap as they used to be either.
No.
I
No.
guess that kind of doesn't
Uh,
help.
well, Megan, how much did you guys buy your last car for?
I want to say it was $1,000, maybe a little over $1,000. And it's
Yeah.
hard too because we buy off of like marketplace, and like the minute some of them find out you're stripping it to build a race car, that sale's gone. So unless you can find it at the scrapyard or you get someone that's cool with it, or you're tight lip, you don't say a single word. It's hard to
Yeah.
get a good priced car.
Yeah, like so fun fact, I've been looking around over the off season to try to build something different because I like to be different. That's why I always ran the Dodge Neons. And
Nothing wrong with that.
I cannot find anything under 3 to 4 grand that is worth
Mhm.
trying to build. And I don't want to spend that kind of money.
No.
I'm just cheap, but
We just want to go racing with it, guys. Like don't make us pay more because we want to turn into a race car. The value doesn't
Yeah.
increase until we put a cage in it.
well, so that's just it, right? So like a lot of guys get on Jeremiah Rabideau's case
Yeah.
about his Honda slash Acura, whatever it is. But you know what? Like he works at a car dealership. They
Mhm.
got the car at auction for cheap.
Yep.
I don't blame him. I would have done the same thing. Hell, I'm still trying to do the same thing. Now I don't. I know Chris is gonna. He'll after he listens to this, he's gonna text me and go, "Hey, what about the stuff in the backyard?" But
It's
because
not a
I've got,
Dodge Neon. That's what he wants.
well, I've got no. So Chris is building a new Dodge Neon.
Oh, is he really?
Yeah, yeah. So funny enough, the first car that myself and Chris and Adam Huff and Nathan Tabak and Ethan we all built it was a Dodge Neon. Um,
Okay.
we Chris and I reacquired it last year. First one we ever built, and right in the door panel we've got all our initials welded in the door bars. So we were gonna try to have it out last year, but we ran into some wiring difficulties, and it's when it cars change hands, some guys aren't as clean and technical as others
Yeah.
are, right? So they butcher things, and anyway, so the car's sitting there. We got the motor back, like I got the motor back together. We just gotta get the wiring harness figured out, and it'll run, but then kind of sputters out and dies, and
Yeah.
so that's the plan this year is for me to run that car.
Nice.
Not really sure on what the schedule is going to look like. I know there'll be a couple of Delaware dates in there. The one thing that we really want to do, or at least I really want to do, is the Sauble Bone Stock Invitational.
Yeah.
Just because the gearing works right for the car. And then a couple of the Flamborough, just regular nights, when we can get to it. So, we'll see what happens. I got a lot of work to do to that car before we get there. Got to change seat out, and
Yeah.
again, I'm not as small as I was 10 years ago when we were racing that thing. But
Yeah.
so,
Well, one thing's for sure, you're gonna have to let me know when you head over to when you bring it out to Flamborough, and I'll make sure if I'm available, I'll come over and stop by and say hi.
well, yeah. Well, it'll be on the BT's page. We had talked before I was doing this about what we were going to post on Facebook for it, because I know Chris just put out a whole BT thing, and with his rental cars and all that, and he's like, "Well, we're going to put your car on there," and I said, "No," I said, "Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves, because you don't really know what's going to happen." So
Yeah, just to keep your seat.
as of right now, I've only got about 5 or 6 races that I really want to run.
Yeah.
The rest of the season is going to be bounced between Paul Fothergill and Chris's 33 car
Okay.
and Devin. Now, with that said, there's talks between myself and another very, very famous driver of him running Devin's truck 1 or 2 nights this season. So
Hmm.
at Delaware in the V8 stock. So we'll see how that works out.
That will be interesting.
That's about all I can say too.
I
Until it all
love it.
comes.
I love it.
Yeah.
Keep
So
dropping some hints, but keeping the secrets tight, nice and close.
yeah.
That's
Well,
awesome.
the Ontario racing boys, the Ontario iRacing boys, they'll know what I'm talking about. But everybody else will sitting there going, "What? What?"
What? Yeah. We are we before we continue on here, we're gonna get into our tailored to you medium design fan question period. And as of course you saw earlier today there, Don, we announced that you were coming on the show tonight. And of course, we got some fan questions for you. You ready to answer them?
Well, I'll answer them the best I can.
All right, Megan, take it away.
Okay. Spencer Adele said, over the years, what bone stock driver has stood out to you the most, or what driver do you think has potential in years to come?
The driver that stand out to me the most probably would be, of course, I'm going to be Delaware heavy on these things. Derek Musker has really, you can put that guy in any car and he's going to go to the front. Him and I did a little bit of work last year together and significantly increased a ton. But he's got that God-given talent that not a lot of racers do in Ontario. Like I'd put him up there with Steve Robley or Jesse Kennedy, or right, you just put him in any car and he'd do really good. The ones to watch for future, if I'm gonna say, first year or second year guys, Spencer's good for being a first or second year guy as well. But that's a tough one because there's a lot of good talent coming up through the ranks. Yeah, I can't really pinpoint one particular driver, but I will say this: most of the guys that do really good traveling, they either come out of Delaware or they come out of Flamborough.
Yeah.
Jesse Howard said, who's your favorite Howard?
Faye Howard. It's because she feeds me. She keeps me in line. Listen, I'm again being a big dude. There's not a lot of people that scare me, but Faye does. Most moms scare me because they just do.
Brady Cox said, "When will Hot Rod Setup sponsor me on iRacing, and how cheated up were your cars in previous years?"
Well, he's not getting setups from me unless he actually talks to me about getting them. As for the cheating up part, we got to go back. Well, you got to determine which year, because there's been the one. I will say this: the one pumpkin smasher I got caught. The list of things that were legal was shorter than the list of things that were illegal. So yeah, it's not necessarily that I was cheating, but I was looking at the gray areas. And
Yeah.
Hey, there's gray areas.
well, there's even with some of the rule books now, there's a lot of gray areas. But I will say this, it's the tracks do a really good job, and the tech departments do a really good job trying to minimize that area. I always took a legal car to Flamborough because I knew that Glenn is one of the toughest tech guys in all of Ontario. I would go to Sunset and I'd have a car that's a little bit more on the edge because they don't tech as hard as Flamborough does. Delaware does a really good job. They've gotten a lot better over the past couple of years. But there's still some improvements to be made. Grand Bend, I don't even think they have tech anymore. But yeah, so I've gone to Delaware and I've won with some very questionable things. Regardless if it's the truck or the street stock when I was helping Joe and we were winning, or if it was the bone stock. We've had some very questionable things in the past, but still passed.
So
Got to
all
make
that
sure I get
matters.
that in there. Yeah, still passed. That's all that matters.
Next one, Donovan Price said, "Have you practiced yoga in the off season to help you get in the car?"
Donovan Price has way too much energy if he's doing that kind of stuff. I will say this: I've over the off season, I've kind of upped my exercise game a little bit. I haven't been doing yoga, but I'm just trying to get get my BPM up a little bit, and it's one of those deals where during the off season, I do a lot of iRacing, so there's the odd time I'll take the force feedback that you get through your wheel and I'll crank it right up to 100 so it's as heavy as it can be. It's a really good way to work out the proper muscles that you're using. Just walking and that kind of stuff. So, I'm not like him. I don't go to jiu-jitsu or Durham regional jiu-jitsu thing that he goes to, but I try.
Nicole Given said, "Do you like soup?"
So that particular question there's a backstory to that. We were all up at Autumn Colors one year, and unfortunately the restaurant's closed down now, but me, her, Phil, and can't remember who else. Anyways, we went to this little mom and pop Italian restaurant. It was right on the main drag, and we sat down. I asked for 4 Bud Lights, and the waitress said, "Okay." She started to turn around, walk away, and I said, "No, no, no." I said, "They still got to order their drinks. That's just for me." So then, I ordered my meal, and they go, "Well, you get a soup with it. What do you want?" And I said, "Well, I don't want no soup. Like, I just want I think it was chicken parmesan or something." I was like, "I just want the meal. I don't want the soup." So Nicole ended up eating the soup, and so apparently I don't like soup, according to that.
That's a great story.
Yeah. I like the ones with the little backstories. Some of these questions, I'm like, I don't know what it means, but I'm gonna ask it anyways. Okay, Tyler Divinenzo said, "How do you pronounce Todd Bodine?"
Todd Bodine. I mean, if you asked him, it'd be. I can't remember what. This is. We were all racing the other night, and I got a little tongue tied because I was a little frustrated with. Can't remember exactly the situation, but I know I was frustrated. I think it was with Carson Nagy because he just wrecks everybody when he's on iRacing. And anyways, so somebody asked. We were talking about the Cup Series, the pace car guy, because I think it was last year, maybe 2 years ago. They had a incident with the pace car where it ripped the whole wiring harness out of the back end of the car.
Yeah.
And they couldn't figure out who was trying to race it. Sorry, who was driving the pace car, and I had piped up and I had said Todd Bodine, but I had screwed it up because I was frustrated.
Okay. The next three are Jamie Grover. He said, "How did he get so handsome?"
Yeah, of course, Jamie Grover asked that question. Well, I got to thank my mother for that one because, who else do you think? Oh, I don't think I'm handsome at all, but you know what? I give her the old college try.
And then he said, "Who was the genius that gave him the amazing nickname?"
So there's two different stories to that. There's the story that Jamie Grover says, and there's a story that I remember. And the story I remember is not the same as what he says. So he says that I got my nickname Hot Rod. We were at the shop one night when the BT guys were at the old shop. We were switching the motor around on Joe's street stock, and I don't know, somehow or another, he couldn't remember, even though him and I had worked together for like 2 years, he couldn't remember my name, and he just called me Hot Rod. So, but then the way I remember it is I was at his house helping him and his dad put a uh, motor into an old endurance car, and I had pinched my hand or something, and I got really mad. And he was like, he just told me easy Hot Rod, and that was right around that the time that the Hot Rod movie come out. So Jamie Grover is still credited with naming me Hot Rod. But the stories may not line up the same, but some of that just might be, me not, my memory's not what it used to be.
And I think this is the last one. Was Stevie Wonder proud of the cage welding job on The Undertaker?
I read that a little bit earlier, and I died laughing because, so again, I was just talking about it a little bit earlier, the roll cage in the K car station wagon Undertaker car, it was water pipe and fence post, and it was all galvanized steel. And this is going back to 2000. Oh, this would have been 2008, 2009 maybe. And welding wasn't my strong suit. I've gotten a ton better now, but back then it wasn't. Especially galvanized or water pipe, because why put that in a race car is beyond me. Actually, I'm pretty sure there's still a rule book, like there's still a rule in the Delaware rule book that says no water pipe allowed. So anyway, yeah, like the welding was it was atrocious. It was some of the worst that I've ever seen. It was some of the worst that anybody had ever seen. And Jamie's a licensed welder, so you thought he would have stepped up and helped me, but he didn't. It's fine. It's fine. It's Jamie. I think there was.
Yeah,
there was
there's.
one more.
I got a couple more here.
Yeah.
I already sent you one, so you got one more here coming.
I feel bad. I don't like butchering names, so I'm just gonna say Derek.
Oh, Derek Desmiras.
Yes. You can go to any racetrack and car. Where are you going and what are you racing?
Any track and well, let's cut this down to two different disciplines. Oval wise, I'm gonna say Darlington
Okay.
an like an Xfinity car or a Busch car.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
Mm.
that's more fun.
Wow, that's kind of what I was thinking. But like road course wise, I'm gonna say I really love Le Mans. I've on iRacing at least I've had really good success at Le Mans. Any car at Le Mans really, but if any car, I'm gonna say the new GTPs, man. They are fast and they are fun. Uh, we had the 12 hours of Sebring here a couple last week, like the IRL one,
Yeah.
and the GTP cars, man, they put on a hell of a show. Like I'd say, I know I love oval racing, but I do love road course racing too. And Le Mans is the top of the top of the heat. Even
Top of the food
I'd rather
chain.
go to Le Mans than go watch Daytona 500
Yeah.
or anything like that, right? So, or even Nürburgring. Nürburgring that's a tough place to get around.
Hmm. I do have one more question. William underscore Trillium on Instagram said, "What is your favorite type of car to use for the bone stocks?"
Well, my favorite is anything that's Dodge related, mainly because nobody else really knows it. But I've had really good success in a variety of them. So, um, yeah, I would still stick with the Dodge Neon. Now I keep hearing there's rumors about a couple of guys building Dodge Darts, and I was kind of hoping to be one of the first ones to do that. But my theory is I'll let them deal with the headaches, and I'll build a Dart shortly. We'll see.
Damn, I should have just turned my old dart into it.
I honestly like it's been that or a the old Dodge Calibers. I've thought about a
Oh,
Caliber. I've thought about it because the SRT Calibers, man, they are they're sporty.
I'm surprised no one's tried an Avenger yet. Or were they ever four cylinders?
It's the same thing. The
Yeah.
Caliber and the Avenger are the same thing. They're on the same floor pan.
Oh,
The
okay.
only real difference is just the way the back end's
Is
configured.
a shell, yeah. Hmm.
So like there's yeah, I've looked into that. Now the next big thing I think we're going to see out of the bone stock division is going to be the Chevy Cruises. I think we're going to see a lot of Chevy Cruises. Um, Either those, or we're going to see something, you know, like more Hondas obviously, but Toyota based.
Yeah.
Toyota really stepped up their game about 2011, 2013. Now that we're getting to that 10-year-old car,
Yep.
right, we're going to start seeing some of that stuff. I don't know what the tracks are going to do with the variable valve timing, because a lot of the newer cars have it. I'm not against having cars run it. You gotta penalize them somehow, right? So,
Yeah.
I know a lot of the divisions down in the States, they have restrictors that go into the air intake. That is something I have brought up to a couple of the tracks in Ontario, and I keep getting shut down on it. Like let everybody do whatever they want with computers and transmissions and all that, and even motor work, right? Because there's a ton of motor work going on right now in Ontario for the bone stocks.
Yeah.
Um, but you know, you limit that by saying, hey, you gotta if you're running this faster than this, you gotta run a 2-inch restrictor or whatever, right? So I'm really curious to see how the divisions go in the next year or two, especially with a lot of the newer cars coming in.
Mm.
So
now it's time to keep to see what comes next. Um, that's our tailored to you fan question period. Of course, we got to thank everyone who submitted questions this week. Make sure you guys tune in every Sunday at noon. Well, maybe not next week or the next month's gonna be crazy for us, but I'm gonna get on that later a little bit later. But stay tuned to when we guys find out who our next guest is, and make sure you guys drop those questions. We're always, and of course, we gotta thank Don for taking the time to answer those fan questions because they're though that's probably the funnest segment we have on the show
Mhm.
because that's when the most random stuff comes out. And I'm sorry that you fell victim to that, Don.
No, I'm fine with it. Nobody can hurt my feelings.
It's more fun because like sometimes like if we don't personally know the person, we may not have enough background on you guys. And so of course when you see these comments that come up, it just, like Nicole Givens asking to be like soup. Where does that come from? Why is it there? Like it's just it's one of those fun comments that we can always just mess around with and of course it's great that it's racing related that you guys were out at Autumn Colors and went to a little Italian restaurant out there one year. Like that adds to the story. It's so much fun. So yeah, thank you for taking the time to answer those questions. Um, we already talked about. You kind of already briefly talked about because you've been one of our. This is I told Megan a little earlier. Like this is easiest. Wow, one of the easiest conversations we've had because we only had to direct you in a certain way, and we just let you go, and it's been so fun to talk to you because of that. You've made our job so easy tonight, and we got to thank you for that.
Well, that's what I try to do.
No,
Well, you know what? When you get me on the topic of bone stocks, man, I'm passionate about them. Well, I'm just passionate about racing, but
yeah,
the bone stocks in particular, like it's a child that I've watched grow, right?
yep,
So like I've got 3 kids of my own, and I'm hoping that one day all 3 of my kids, well, 2 of my kids at least, they'll want to race in the bone stock division, and they'll sit there and go, you know what? My dad was a pioneer of the division. He started it. He started with, there was when I first started running 4-cylinder stuff, it was me and Doug Cap and Chad Ryan. That was it. And then Jordan Morris came in, and then Moosker. And
yep,
then we ran the full length race, and like it was there's a lot more to it than just you know watching the bone stocks get to this,
yeah.
right? There's been a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and a lot of blood. A lot of blood.
Typically, what happens?
Yeah, yeah. But, I just love the division as a whole. Like, I know for like the one year I wrote the whole rule book for everybody in Ontario
Oh, jeez.
because I was the head technical guy at Grand Bend,
Yeah,
and everybody used my rule book just because of the way that I worded everything. And there was like we had we had a $800 to win race at Flamborough I mean, not Flamborough, at Grand Bend one year,
yeah.
and I teched all 22 cars that showed up, and all but one car passed.
Wow.
Right, and like it was just because guys were, and like this was all pre-tech. It wasn't even post-tech. So
Oh, jeez.
it was, but that's, I hate saying it, but that's the way that it's the progression of a division is based off of hard teching, right? So you build
Yep.
cars up because everybody knows they're going to have an equal chance to where they go, right? So, like last year, Joe Lawrence won Frostfest, and we sat in tech, and not to name names, but there was a particular competitor, and all he did was complain that we won, and he was trying to find certain ways to try to get us in trouble, but they couldn't. There was nothing that they could find that was wrong, and as soon as I started pointing out, well, hey, the rule book says this, you know, that particular person started crying. So, anyways, it is what it is at that point. But the bone stocks are they are the biggest, in my opinion, the biggest division in all of Ontario.
Yeah.
And, tracks are starting to realize it. Delaware has realized it.
Yep. Hence why I was on the card with the Canadian Tire Series last year.
Yep.
Or the Pinty Series, sorry.
The Flambeau's starting to clue in, like John Casale's starting to figure it out. And, it's the bone stock guys need a lot more loving than what they get from these tracks. And I'm hoping, fingers crossed, the 2-speed promo they got going right now is gonna end up promoting the bone stock stuff, whether it's Varney or Sauble or Delaware or whatever, right?
Yep.
So fingers crossed, right?
Oh yeah. I was talking to someone, and realistically it should not go to the late models or the super stocks. It should go to more of a homegrown division. I heard someone talk about it. I think it was actually Pops Campbell on the Feeney call last week. He suggested it either go to the junior late models or to the bone stocks or to the mini stocks.
Well, I'd agree with that. The only problem is though, like the late models and the super stocks, their cost to run far exceeds what the bone stocks are, right? Like most bone stock guys are, they're putting a tire on every, once every 3 or 4 weeks. Where, late models and the super stock guys, they're doing it once every 2 weeks, or if they break a shock, that's $180, right? So you break a strut, you go to the junkyard, you pay $35, you get a new one, right?
Yeah.
Or you go on Rock Auto, you run one week with a blown strut, and you're good, right? So I get the economics for all of it, right? Obviously, because I've crewed right from the bone stocks to the late models and all that. But, I really hope the bone stocks get a huge deal this summer coming up. And they all deserve it. Doesn't matter whether it's, even some of the racetracks up north, like upside of Sault Ste. Marie there, they've got a really good bone stock division too. Like I know, like they don't get the attention that they deserve down here, but they've got a good bone stock division. They get 30 cars.
Do they really?
Right. So yeah. They had an invitational there at Labor Day weekend, and they had about 30 cars there. So
is it Laird?
Yeah, it might be Laird. I gotta look it up. I can't. I drove past it a few times, but I've never actually been. So
because now I want to go. I need to reach out to one of those tracks and figure out how I'm going to get my ass up there, and 2, who can I talk to get on this damn show? Because a couple years
Michael
ago,
Gold. Michael Gold. Yeah, Michael Gold races up there. He runs in their modified division up there every now and then. Not all the time, but
I gotta reach out to them because I've at Laird Speedway especially, like they have a $10,000 to win super late model race every year,
and they get nobody.
Where is that? They get about 15, 16 cars.
Yeah, that's about it.
But where's we're not talking about that down here, and that pisses me off.
Yeah, but most of the Northern Ontario racetracks, whether it's dirt or asphalt, they don't get talked about at all.
No, I need to expand.
I mean,
more.
it's fair though, because the population density is different too, right?
Oh yeah.
Like down here, like for instance, London, right? You got 500,000 people that live here.
Yeah.
Where up there at Sault Ste. Marie, you only get 30,000.
Yeah.
Right. So that's a big population density difference. So it's not even looking at votes.
Yeah. It'd be nice to be able to talk to people up there and try to show that interest down here that like, hey, there are tracks in Ontario that, because we talk about the core ones, we talk about, Delaware, Southern Ontario, Full Throttle, Grand Bend, Sauble, Suns, Peterborough, Brighton. We never go north of Sauble. We need to talk about those tracks. Like there's tracks out there that we don't talk about, and it frustrates me.
No, I
And it
agree.
frustrates. I don't talk about them either. So I mean,
No,
Yeah.
I'm just as bad as you are. I drive past it. I don't bother going to it, but I drive
Yeah.
past it. Anyway.
But no,
So.
I'm gonna reach out to some of those guys and see if they would like to come onto the show and see if we could bring that area to meet back up with Ontario and be like, hey, we don't just have racing in Southern Ontario, we got racing in Northern Ontario and some big ass races up there. So we're gonna reach out to them. We're gonna try and get them on the show here in the next little bit. But Don, we gotta thank you for your time. We're gonna have to get you back on and talk more bone stock racing at
Yeah,
Delaware.
for sure.
And of course, we're gonna have to get you on at the end of the year to talk about how your season went, especially if you get back out there in the Neon, how you enjoyed and stuff like that. So before we let you go, is there anyone you want to thank for helping you in your racing career and everything like that?
Well, I got to thank Chris Lawrence. He's one of them. Definitely Birch Repair and Towing. 519 Tow. Joe for being a headache. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all I've got.
All right. Yeah, we got to thank you for joining us this week on the True North Racing Podcast. And yeah, we're gonna have to get you back on and chat some more bone stock racing. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I love talking bone stocks. Maybe closer to the end of the year, we can have me back on and we'll talk about playoff season.
Absolutely. We'll do that for sure. But you go enjoy the rest of your night, and thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us tonight.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
All right, have a good one. And we're back from our conversation with Don Yorke, and of course, we got to thank Graphic Design Studios for bringing us our guest segment of the week, and of course, we got to thank Taylor to You Media and Design for bringing us our fan question period. And it was great chatting with Don, and Don's one of those people that like it's easy to talk to him because then we're not having to talk too much, which is awesome. So we're gonna have to bring him back on here near the end of the season. We're gonna talk playoff racing, and of course, if he's been able to make it behind the wheel, we're gonna chat with him about how his season's been. Next up, as you guys have been seeing lately, we've been doubling up some episodes because we are trying to get through our content from Motorama, and I got 4 videos still to go. Man, I didn't realize how much content I made down there without really doing it much. Now I got a question for you. Did you see Caitlin's interview that I did?
Not the whole thing, but
Okay. Did you see where the person walked through the camera?
oh yeah.
Oh my God. That was my favorite part. When he's like, sorry, I was like, no, thank you. Don't worry. Thank you.
It's okay.
It's all good. Thanks.
It's not okay.
It was not okay. No. But yeah, there's still, I think I got another guy popping in a couple. I can't remember if it was my Donovan Price one or if it was my GTM one, but I think it was Donovan. We had a couple people pop in. So we got a couple more little fun things to show you guys. So this Thursday, you guys will see a conversation with Cam Thompson. We're going to have that one air on Thursday. We're going to be chatting with Claude Haggerty on this coming Tuesday for next week's episode. But I'm going to be honest, I forgot about him. Forgot about that, having that one lined up. So what we're going to do is as I already have someone going for next Tuesday, we're going to put Claude's next Thursday.
Okay.
So then that way I already promised someone that they were going to be out Tuesday. Yeah. So this way we're good to go. And then we got an episode able to be planned for after the wedding. Either that or I'll save Claude's for for the week of after the wedding.
Right.
And then that way I can get through all my Motorama stuff. So maybe that's what we'll do is Claude will be in a couple weeks when we air it. But that's a conversation for us later. Megan, where can they find you on social media? You and your team.
Instagram is mrc.racing.73. TikTok is just mrcracing73, and Facebook is mrc racing.
All right. And of course, you guys can find Joe Media Promotions on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and as well as joemedia.ca for all the latest updates on drivers, which, by the way, we got it to 50. We're at 51 drivers right now. We got a mix of asphalt, dirt, and road course. So I am so excited that we reached our goal of 50. We are on, maybe what we'll do, we're going to have to do a live one night or something. We'll have to put it in this episode, like one of these episodes coming up, where we give away that gold package for 2025. So stay tuned. We're going to be giving that away here. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it'll be after the wedding shortly, but one lucky driver will be walking away with a 2025 gold package courtesy of Joe Media Promotions. Of course, we got to thank everyone for getting us to 50 drivers, because or else that wouldn't be an idea. And of course, we got to thank my beautiful fiance, Jacqueline, for thinking of that idea. She's the one who came up with the prize for that. So you guys make sure, whoever wins it, make sure you guys say thank you to Jacqueline. But yeah, make sure you guys follow us on all social media platforms. And of course, make sure you guys follow us on the True North Racing Podcast on wherever you get your podcasts from, Apple, Google, Spotify, Audible, wherever else you guys can listen to us. Just make sure you guys follow us, show us that love. That's going to do it for us. We got to get out of here. It's late. For Megan Mitchell, I'm John Morrison. We'll see you guys next time. Bye now.
Yeah.
Hear the engine rooming by, smell the gas and feel the vibe, going into overdrive. Drop the flag, then the car zooming by. Hey, True North Racing, let's go.